in our regular sessions we will discuss each points or topic in a detailed way. So today it's just an overview, so just be mindful of that. And if you have any questions, any like a queries, you can note it down or you can ask me then at that time, or else after the session you can just let me know about your questions. All right. Okay, so I believe you can see my screen moving. So can someone confirm just once?
Yes, sir.
So what is clinical research? So it's a systematic evaluation of medicinal products or devices in human subjects, whether it's a patient or non-patient. So what is mean by non-patient? So non-patients are nothing but the volunteers, those who know the clinical trial. So they are healthy volunteers uh, to discover the effect or to verify the effect and identify any adverse reaction to the our investigational product, and to study their ADME in order to ascertain the safety and efficacy of the medication, device, or any kind of diagnostic products or the treatment regimen intended for human use. Okay, so clinical research. So there are like a phases of clinical research. So like a drug discovery. So what is drug discovery? So drug discovery basically, if I'm a scientist working in R&D and I have developed around 5,000 to 10,000 compounds or molecules. So from that molecule, I will just target some identification, do the validation, do their assay development and the lead generation. And this time will take around like a 3 to 5 years. And here I'm not like alone. So it's like a entire team or entire company will work on that. So that way this the drug discovery method will do. And after all this research of 3 or 5 years, so almost 250 compound will be like successfully entered into the preclinical study. So so here what we are doing, so in vitro and in vivo study can be done in like animals, where we are also checking ADME, the PKPD of the drugs. And this phase will take around 1 or 2 years. And post successfully completion of this preclinical study data, so in clinical trials, hardly there are 5 compounds that we said as like a safe and safety and efficacy, as per the safety efficacy studies, that they are successfully enrolled into the clinical trials. So this is the INDA, where we are like working on the phase one, phase two, and phase three. So phase one, phase two, and phase three. Here, like we are doing studies to the healthy volunteers and into a mass to the patients in the phase three. So here we are checking safety and the efficacy of our drug on actual human beings. So I believe that everyone has clear understanding on what is preclinical and clinical trials after the drug discovery. So this is the actual overview of the clinical research, and it will take around 6 to 7 years when we can say yes, these compounds are safe and effective for the patient. So once the safety efficacy proven in a clinical trial, so any one drug or maybe one or two drug molecules can be passed by the regulatories. It means like a FDA, Food and Drug Administration from US. So they will pass it, and they will just nod for to go ahead, and we can like a manufacture in a bulk, and we can market it actually, and then our post marketing surveillance can start there. So that is where actual drug we can buy and take for any kind of disease. And this phase will take a 1 and 2. Yes, so if we like summarize the entire cycle of drug discovery till the market, so it will take around 15 to 20 years, and that cost lot. So I hope that everyone have basic understanding on this drug discovery, and I believe that everyone has the pretty clear idea on preclinical and the clinical trial, and then how the successful drug manufacturing and the PMS will be starting after nodding the FDA. Any question or any confusion? We will also see in detail how the clinical research workflow will be there. So let me present that workflow as well. Please confirm if you're able to see the screen.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, thanks for confirmation. Yeah, so if you see, so this is the entire summary of clinical research process flow. So when the feasibility survey is done, then CSP will be starting writing, and then the designing of CRF, then ICF will be started along with your investigation browser flow, and then it will go to IND dossier compilation and the submission. Then after that, approval of IND will be there, and meanwhile, there are some inputs in CSP, like that is a statistical consideration in data management, and also to monitoring plan and KOL. So KOL is a key opinion leaders and the regulatory. So from that simultaneously, it will go to your clinical operators, then site selection, site initiation will be there, site training on ICH GCP, initiation of the trial, screening of subjects. So this everything will be happened in your clinical operations. Then coming to clinical data management, so we do have separate session on this CDM. So you will get to know what is exact CDM and how it functions. So that way we will see in the detail. And for biostats, we have SAS programs and everything will be there to understand how the studies are going. And simultaneously the drug will flow into after this approval of IND, that will flow into the clinical trial phase 1 and 3. Post that it will come to NDA submission, and then the actual PV work will start here, like post marketing surveillance, where ICSRs and aggregate we will start, and we will actually check the safety and efficacy proving uh, for the post marketing surveillance team. So this is the overall summary and the picture of the clinical research. So where we are covering entire clinical operations, data management, biostats, and the pharmacovigilance and the medical writing. Yeah. So due to time limits, I will not stretch much on this. So if you have any question, we will definitely discuss maybe into our regular sessions. Okay. Okay. So why we are looking for the clinical research? So to assess any new drug or drug which is already existed, but their uses, new uses we can evaluate. So what it mean exactly, what is make it different? So new uses of existing drug means, example, very I know that maybe everyone will be aware. So if we see the sildenafil, so what is the use of sildenafil when they have produced and marketed? Anyone know? Okay, I will tell you. So the initial production and the marketing done for sildenafil is for the pulmonary arterial hypertension. However, it has also uses they can treat the erectile dysfunction, and that way sildenafil is a very popularly known as a Viagra that meant for something else and used for something else. So that way new uses of the existing drug can be utilized. So this is one of the example. There are a lot, and also to new medical devices, new drug delivery system, vaccines, and the surgical procedures. Okay, so that's it. We will discuss on the clinical research and moving to pharmacovigilance. So pharmacovigilance is nothing but it's a pharmacon and vigilance. They are again two Greek words where we are saying that pharmacon means like a new medicine, and vigilare or vigilance means is to watch. So, so it is basically it's a science and activities relating to detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention of adverse effect or any other possible drug related problems. So this is what the pharmacovigilance, where we are checking in very much into detail detection, assessment, understanding, and the prevention of any of the adverse effects. Okay. So what is under scope of PV? So drugs, of course, herbal medications, even any traditional and complementary medicines, that is particularly for China, blood products, biologicals, and medical devices. So I believe that everyone knows how it classifies. So blood, when we discuss drug, herbal, traditional, so everyone is aware the blood products like plasma, compact blood cells, RBCs, and all. Biologicals are vaccine and medical devices. Yeah, so this is very interesting and very important part of the PV. So how the PV journey or how the regulation, I will say, it started their journey. So 1848, the Lancet started collecting notification of side effects after a death caused by anesthesia. So this is how the documentary has been started since 1940, 1848, and after that there are huge gap, and directly in 1901 in USA there are 13 children died from contaminated diphtheria antitoxin, and in 1902 they having some passage of Biological Control Act. So that is the evolution of coming to picture of any kind of control or act to the medicines, and the goal was to ensure purity and safety of serums, vaccine, and other products. Because of the incidents of 1901, there are 13 children died because of diphtheria antitoxin. And in 1906, US federal food, that is the US FDA, requires that pharmaceuticals be pure and free of any contamination. So this is not stopped here. So we will discuss in a detail how they define a pure and free of any contamination. So although they have initiated this act here in 1906, however, there are challenges because there are no control. So in 1937, in US, there are more than 100 lethal cases after diethylene glycol was used to solubilize sulfonilamide, sold under the brand name as mesendenil. So here drug is okay, but the solution is not like a use as per the uh, like a pure and free of any contamination. So that is where there are incidences occurred, and so this elixir, sulfonilamide tragedy, that US passed the Federal Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act, which replaced the 1906 Law of Pure and Food Drug Act. So what happened here exactly? So these are two major turning points in to our entire regulatory history, where the sulfonilamide and another one is like a thalidomide. So for this elixir sulfonilamide, what happened? It was like in powder and tablet form, which is like non-solubilized, and these companies are tried just to use solvent as a diethyl glycol, which is a known toxin, but they have just ignored it and they use it and make elixir for this, and they sold it directly into the market without doing any trials or studies, and resulting into there are 100 cases, and mostly there are children who are die because of the kidney failure. So yeah, moving to the thalidomide tragedy. Yeah, and in 1961, Dr. William McBride of Australia reported 20% increase in fetal abnormality and significant increase of phocomelia in relation with the use of new sleep-inducing thalidomide. And there are several cases, and there are more than like a 4,000 cases, and the biggest from the Germany because they have only developed that one thalidomide, and that is where again there are some laws and the regulations are started that if you see this US Kafir Harris amendment to the law required to prove safety and efficacy. So from 1962 we have started using these words after like there are so many laws to the humanity. We have started this word like a safety and efficacy before issuing any marketing or authorization drug to the market. Yeah. And then again in 1964, UK has started their yellow card system, and again in 1967, WHO starts international drug monitoring program, and in 1976, drugging of the Americas inadequacy of safety information also started, and 1990. ICH has been formed for US, Europe, and Japan as the countries. Yeah, so this is how the journey of our regulation and the control on the medicinal companies or pharma companies. Yeah. So why pharmacovigilance need is that we just discuss. So because of there are many like variances, country-wise, region-wise, races-wise. So we'll see one by one like a genetics, diet, traditional of the people. So why we are discussing about genetics? So I believe that everyone has studied and they already know that some region of our world they are resistant by default genetically they are resistant to malaria. कितना भी उनको mosquito काटे या anaphylaxis so they do not have or they do not prone to cause any kind of malaria or symptoms of that, particularly for the African region, so which is not case for us. So that is where genetical study, diet, traditional is very important. The drug production, distribution, and use, then pharmaceutical quality and composition, specifically for excipients, like we just see the example of elixir. The drug is pure, but the solvent is not toxin. And the use of non-orthodox drugs, that is herbal remedies or any kind of like traditional drugs or traditional remedies for particularly for Chinese medicines. So for that we need pharmacovigilance in every country. So who can report the PV? Any patient, any physician, nurse, pharmacist, and manufacturer itself, and even lawyers. Why lawyers? Because there are some legal cases as well. Because some company or some firm or some patient is suing the cases against the company or against the any particular drug. So this way the reporting system is built. Yeah. So who can report we know, but how to report this is a this we should know, because although we can say that we all are healthcare professional, but we do not have awareness how to report, whom to report, and when to report. So that is what we are lacking, and that is where also awareness programs will be needed how to report. So we can just call, email, fax, or online reportings are also there available. for medwards or even for the yellow cards. It's a country-wise different system. So every details would be available if you see the company portals and the website for that particular drug. So what are the challenges in PV? Lack of harmonization, diverse culture and different languages. PV is not seen as a priority in some Asian countries. Here specifically speaking on our region, there are not much importance given. Lack of human and financial resources with experience. The regulatory agencies, yes, because pharmacovigilance is not like any kind of revenue generator. They are a cost centers to the company. Lack of budget, government support, lack of awareness on PV amongst physician and public, under-reporting and poor quality of spontaneous reports. So, do you agree these challenges are there? How many are agree? Uh, if I ask you, any one of you, I believe that everyone having their COVID vaccines and you have experienced the adverse events, isn't it? Yes or no? Yes, no, maybe.
No.
Okay. So you do not have any adverse event post taking COVID vaccine?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right. So have you reported this anywhere? As a healthcare professional, we are aware that this is adverse event to the drug. Have you reported somewhere to someone, at least to your doctor? Okay, so this is what we are discussing, that the challenges that we having, and we need to overcome it by making awareness and spreading awareness. So what are the guidelines that we are using for pharmacovigilance? So we have very less time. We are running short time. Just quickly, I'm just tell you. So we have entire ICS setup. So E2A is for clinical safety data management, E2B for data elements for transmission and of the individual case safety report. E2C R2 is for the PEBRA. E2D is for the post-approval safety data management. E2E for the PV planning. E2F is for DSURs. And M1, M2. M1 is for the medical terminology, that is MEDRA. M2 is for electronic standard for transmission of regulatory information, that is ICSR. So these are the standard guidelines, and we are following across globe two standard guidelines, that is PV guidelines. We are saying GVP model for Europe and 21 what CFR is for FDA. So we will discuss in much detail during our regular sessions for that, and how the workflow will be for the PV. Like ICSR is a basic where we are like doing data entry for all the cases across the globe, where we are like identifying serious unexpected areas and uh, what to report and whom to report country wise. And then aggregate reporting, we have like a papers, PSUR, DSURs, and post that the signal studies will give you some like a fair idea and the clear picture on the risk management and the risk assessment. And the final step will be that like a risk management, where we are actually doing the risk benefit analysis for the drug or for the molecule. So this is the entire process of PV. Yeah, so for ICSR, as almost industry, PV industry is based on this ICSR. So how we are like a the process flow is like when we receive the case, we are doing duplicate checks. So we having like databases, different databases like Argus, ARIG, ABCube, Clinio, SRP. There are several in the industry. So process flow will be the same. So, after duplicate check, logging to the case, perform tries, data entry, quality review, medical review, validation, and generation and submission of the report. So What is aggregate reporting? So aggregate report basically, as we discussed already, they are just a summary of entire bunch of ICSRs, maybe for 6 years, quarterly or annually or 2 yearly, and where we are doing and understanding the risk benefit profile for each of the drugs for that particular period. So that may include like your NDA annual reports, IND annual reports, clinical study report, and PSUR, PEBROS, PADOS, DSUR, and annual safety reports. And signal is uh, it's a new aspect of known association between intervention and event or set of related events where the adverse or beneficial that is judged to be of sufficient likelihood to justify verificatory actions. So that is the use of this signal detection where we are generating signal and we are passing the entire product and we can say whether this is suitable or not. So 90% is like already PMS cases here. So uh, like uh, almost everything is like a suitable, and that is the conclusion as per my experience till now. So these are very interested, but an entire aggregate set is very elite and a cream layer of pharmacovigilance. The theory is very detailed, very much in detail, and quite interesting, specifically those who having experience or those who are doctors can understand much on this part. But yes, I will explain you that as well in our regular sessions. So in the risk management, I just said that we are evaluating the risk benefit ratio for this particular product, and we are evaluating whether this is safe and effective for across the globe, because this is the entire globe and the study done as per that, where we are checking their causality and everything. And yeah, this is very important. Always remember that every minute spent on your reporting improves the quality of maybe your patient or all the patients. Yeah. And I heard that almost everyone is having the pressure background, so I'll just take you through what can be the career opportunities throughout your clinical research. You can look after in clinical trial management, for the clinical data management, pharmacovigilance, in medical writing. So these are the ladders where you can just start your journey. And yes, we are there to facilitate your interviews, to make you prepare in all the aspects. So this is like a very good opportunity, and industry is booming now. Everyone knows that the medicine industry is there is no end, and it's continuously booming. And for that, this clinical research is one of the very uh, I will say that very important aspect for every pharma company. And even India, we do have PVPI regulations, and there are many awareness is there in last 4 or 5 years in the clinical research industry. So yeah, we do have very scope and bright future in this industry. So you can just check your path. And any questions for me? Any query?
Okay.
Okay. Much I exceeded 5 minutes,
Yeah, we have
so
some query in the chat box. Just see the chat box.
yeah, just a minute. Chat box. I don't know, but I cannot see the option for chat box here. Uh,
So just down your presentation. Stop your presentations otherwise.
yeah,
Let me tell you the
yeah. Can you tell
questions.
me?
Yeah, definitely. So the questions, we have a lot of questions. Actually, I already answered from most of the questions. Thing is that what happens in phase one, two, and three in clinical trial? These questions having the long answers, so that's why I haven't
Yeah,
mentioned in the chat box. Okay.
yeah. Maybe we can discuss. Hello.
Yeah, yeah. So just mention the answers for what happens in clinical trial one, two, and three in a brief actually.
Okay, sure. We'll do that. But I don't know. I cannot see. Admin, can you just check because I know that there should be chat box option, but it is not reflecting for me. Maybe I can share my screen, but I
Yeah, yeah,
am
sure.
not. So you want to like see my screen because I am not able to see
Yeah,
that
you can
option.
share your screen. No issue. I'll
Um,
read out the questions for you. Okay. Meanwhile, you can share your screen.
can you see the screen?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, see, it should be here ideally, but there is no chat.
Yes. Okay. Maybe some technical issue may be there. I
Yeah,
think.
that is where I am not able to see the charts for anyone.
Yeah, no issue.
Yeah,
So the questions. Hope you understand the questions. What I am
yeah,
telling to
I
you.
understand question, but
Okay. Just answer it.
yeah,
No issue. I'll take this technical issues.
okay, fine. So when like that option is available, I will just paste it into the chat box. So maybe CDM session can be like a proceed for the. All right, guys. Then thank you so much for your time.
Okay. So Dheeraj sir, did you understand? Hello.
Yeah, I understand. So if you enable that chat box option, I will just paste
No,
it there. So meanwhile, we can just
no.
in
What I am
the.
telling you, just answers for the questions. What happens in clinical trial one, two, and three? That is the questions only. Can you have answers? Not in a chat box. Directly provide the answers from here itself. We are able to listen you.
Okay, so basically in clinical trial phase one, so we are doing like a study on healthy volunteers, not like a population of a very huge population, in between like around 20 to 80, depend on the like study protocol and all these things. So we are checking the safety on the healthy volunteers. How much safety is there? Is there any adverse event occurs to that patient and not patient onto that healthy volunteer? So that is a phase one. So we are checking on safety, and even for phase two, we are increasing the patient size a bit, and we are also checking the safety for that, and simultaneously if there is patient, so in phase 3 we are doing it like on a major scale, like on hospitals, on a major population. So we are directly involving the patients there, and we are checking safety as well as the efficacy of the particular products. So this is very short, I'm telling you, because of the time limit. So basically, this is the funda that phase one, phase two, healthy volunteers are involved, and we are starting like a phase two will be the mix, and the phase three entirely we can involve the like a patients from hospital, and that is what the studies are there, clinical trial studies, and that way we are checking the safety, efficacy. And phase 4 is the post marketing surveillance, as we discussed, that post our safety, efficacy proven, and if it is not, the bulk manufacturing will be there, and then the product will be marketed into the market directly to the patient. and that is the post-marketing surveillance. That is a phase 4.
Yeah,
I
thanks.
hope I answer and the clarify doubt. If someone having further doubts on this, please let me know. I will explain it further if we have time, because I have given
Yeah,
30
yeah, no
minutes.
issue.
Yeah.
Answers all the questions, sir. So Lukman Khan has one more questions.
Hmm.
Lukman Khan, do you able to unmute yourselves?
Yeah, that will be better actually, as I'm not able to
Yeah.
see the chat box. Can you unmute and speak? Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, Lukman. You go ahead.
I did BTech in biotechnology and I am working as a downstream processing engineer at
Mm-hmm.
Reliance like last 2 years. Actually, I
Okay.
want to switch my domain. I want to change and I am interested for pharmacovigilance. Is it possible to change the domain?
So, how much years of experience you having
Actually,
in?
I have two years.
I'm sorry, your voice is breaking, Lukman.
Total 2 year experience, sir.
Total 2 years. Yeah, you can switch actually. There
Okay.
are a lot of biotech professionals in pharmacovigilance. Even in my team, there are two.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so you can switch, no problem.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, come.
Yeah, Rishi, you have questions, you can unmute yourselves.
Yes, sir. May I audible?
Yes, Rishi, I can hear. Please go ahead.
Sir, I am actually pursuing B Pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
I am a final year student,
Okay.
and I want to, and I am interested in PV. So,
Okay.
what will be the interview preparation questions and how I prepare for that?
Yeah, so basically for interview preparation, I believe that there will be a separate session after this entire course, and there once you know the entire PV in and out, you can crack it. So that way it should be, and definitely we will there to help you how the interview can be done, what can be the like a potential questions that will come for the interview. So specifically everything like on the case processing, you should know all the PV definitions. So that is what I will suggest you as of now, because considering this is just an overview that you have covered, so there are a lot that to learn.
So Rishi, after this course completions, we'll schedule one or two interview sessions so that you
Yep.
can at least understand how the interview should be conducted and how we should provide the answers in that actually. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Rishi. Anyone else? Any other questions, doubts, further explanation needed?
Okay. So we have another faculty for the CDMS, Clinical Data Management Systems. So Rajiv Sir will take another sessions on the CDMS. Yeah, Rajiv Sir, are you able to share your screen? Your mic is not working, I think. Rajesh sir, we are not able to hear you. Can you rejoin again otherwise?
You cannot hear me, right?
Yeah, now you are able,
Now we
we are
can
able to
hear
hear you.
actually. Yeah.
Okay, and you can see my screen.
Yes, yes,
Okay, and you can see it's moving, right? The slides are not static.
yes.
Okay, okay, great, great. So, hello everyone. I'm going to teach you about a few aspects of the clinical data management. So, I'll try to cover two things: the important terms that we use in the clinical data management and the clinical data management process. So, it's a huge process, and time limit is 30 minutes. So I will try to cover as much as I can, and you can park your question at later part of the session. As clinical data management is a very integral part of the clinical research, so I'll just give you a brief about the clinical research. Already the previous speaker has covered it, but I'll just give you the brief idea what is clinical research. So there are many definitions of clinical research you can find in Google, but the one definition which resonates the complete picture of the clinical research is it's the study of health and illness in the people. That's all. So it enables researcher to find better ways to understand, detect, control, and treat human diseases. So with this definition, you can understand why we do the clinical research. So the reasons are: we want to evaluate drugs, medical devices, or surgical procedures to treat disease, syndrome, or condition. We want to evaluate or identify the diagnostic procedures. We want to explore or improve the comfort and quality of life, or we want to identify the things which can prevent a particular disease for treatment purpose, for diagnostic purpose, for prevention purpose, and for identification purpose. We perform the clinical studies, and to perform the clinical studies, we need a clinical data management department, and how it helps in running the clinical studies that we will learn in the later part of the slides. So now let's learn about the clinical data management. So the primary goal, one minute. The primary goal of the clinical data management is to ensure timely delivery of high quality clinical data needed to satisfy both the good clinical practice guidelines and the criteria for statistical analysis and regulatory reporting. Though it may look very difficult words, but if you will understand the individual words, then you can decipher, you can understand the whole meaning of the clinical data management. The ultimate purpose of the clinical data management is whatever clinical data we have to ensure that it's meeting the high quality standard that the regulatory authority has set. And by following by being adhered to those standards, whether the data is cleaned, whether there is consistency in that data or not, because ultimately this data is going to be submitted to the statistical team, because they will perform the statistics, and after performing the statistics they will report the result to the regulatory authority. So our main purpose is to give the clean data to the statistical team so that they can perform the statistical analysis, and further the data can be reported to the regulatory authority. Now, in which phases the clinical data management team are involved? So they are involved in all the phases. Like you can see the CDM team members participating in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and in some cases in phase 4 as well. Okay, so that the key takeaway is the CDM department ensure timely delivery of high quality clinical data. Okay, moving to the next slide. Now, the clinical data management process involves 3 steps: setup, conduct, and close out. The whole clinical data management can be divided into 3 parts only. Like whether you are doing the clinical studies in India or abroad or anywhere else, whether CDM department is situated in India or anywhere else, it will have only 3 phases: setup, conduct, and close out. You would have seen that I have illustrated 3 icons here: the setup for home, and for conduct the cleaning, and the closeout I have illustrated is as lock. Okay, so just remember this icon. You will understand the whole process. Okay, So I'm starting with the first part, the setup part. Setup part means building, building the database. Okay. So what happens? The clinical data manager, the person who works in the clinical data management department, clinical data manager, review the protocol. Okay. They review the protocol and they identify the information which are needed to be added in the case report form. Now you will have two questions here for sure. What is protocol and what is case report form? So case report form are nothing but are simply form. You would have seen school admission form or college admission form. It's same. So these are the forms which are used to capture the information as per the protocol. They are called case report form. They can be in the paper format or they can be electronic format. Now there are very few companies which are using the paper format. Now everybody is using the electronic format. So a well-designed CRF, a case report form, will reflect the essential content of the research protocol. And when the research protocol is finalized, the CDM department start building the case report form. Okay. Now, what is protocol? So, a protocol is a document which outline how the clinical trial should be performed, what is the objective, what is the design, what is the method, and what kind of statistical method are going to be used, and what is the structure of the study. It is phase 1, phase 2, how many participants or subjects are going to be recruited in the study, and what are the measures which we will take to ensure that data which are going to be collected are valid or not. So you can understand that clinical trial protocol is nothing but a roadmap of a clinical trial. Okay. So in the clinical trial protocol, there will be lots of information. For example, subjects should be recruited from Japan, or subject age should be more than 18 years old, or subject should come every 15 days and should take the drug. All these things will be there in the protocol. So we will take the key information from that particular protocol and we will create the forms. That form is called case report form. Okay. So now everybody has used the LinkedIn, Facebook, and all, right? So you think that whenever you are creating one account in a Facebook, you have to fill one form. What's your first name, last name, mobile number, etc. That form you consider the case report form. That form is a case report form. And the system in which you are using, you are creating that form. In this case, Facebook system. In the same way, whatever form we create in the clinical data management are called case report form. In the system that we use to create that form is called EDCR, electronic data capture, or clinical data management system, CDMS or EDC. There are different type of EDC in the market. Okay, RAVE, Inform, OCRDC. I'm not going in detail about those systems, but you just try to understand the process. Okay, so in the first step, what we will do, we'll try to gather the information from the protocol. We'll capture that information in the case report form. Okay, now I'll show you the example of the case report form. Everybody can see it, right? Anybody can confirm?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can see this. This is an example of case report form. Whether subject has signed the informed consent and what's the date of signing the informed consent. So the hospital need to provide the date on which date they have signed the informed consent. Whether subject meet the inclusion exclusion criteria, yes or no. The details regarding the inclusion exclusion criteria we need to provide here. What is the date of birth? What is the gender, ethnicity, what's the race of the subject? All this information we need to provide. And these are the forms called case report form. And these form we create in the system that's called EDCR, electronic data capture. Okay. Now these are the common case report form example. For example, demography. So this is the example of demography case report form where we are collecting the date of birth, gender, ethnicity, inclusion exclusion criteria. In the first slide I have given you. Okay. Informed consent form, lab test to be done, chemistry, hematology. You would have gone to some hospital and you would have given to the blood sample, right, for hemoglobin testing or for chloride, potassium, etc. So similarly, we create the form. So what is the sodium value? What is the chemistry? What is the value of chloride, etc. Those administration record form, when subject has to take the drug, what is the interval and all. Sample collection time point, we have to collect the sample for further testing. So those kind of information also we capture in the case report form. Treatment arm, sometimes subject has to take 2-3 drugs. So whether for drug A, that subject has to take drug B, that kind of information also we capture in the case report form. Okay, I think everybody is clear now what is case report form, right? If you have any doubt, you can ask now, because the other steps are dependent on this. Okay, I take silence as everyone is clear now. So for step 2, uh, though protocol is unique for every study, but if you will see it at the organization level, like for example GSK or AstraZeneca or Novartis, they are doing this work from 20, 30, 40 or 100 years, and they know what are the common forms that are being used all the time. So they will create one library, one digital library. Okay, so what happens, for example, I need to use one demographic form where I have to collect date of birth and subject race. In that case, I will go to that library and I will just take that form, and I can use in my study. I don't have to create that particular form from scratch. So sometimes those kind of forms are available. For example, one school is having one admission form. So another school wants the admission form. What the second school can do, they can take a copy of the admission form from the first school, and they can modify a little bit here and there, and they can use that admission form. Similarly, we have a library, digital library for the case report form. Whenever we need to use some common forms, we go to that digital library, and we just select that particular form. So once we identify that particular forms and all, we start drafting the critical documents. Okay, in this case, study specific documents, SSD is very critical document. What we will do now, in the first step, we have identified the case report form. Now we need to mention where those case reports forms are applicable, right? Because some forms may be applicable at first visit, some forms may be applicable at later on. So for example, just imagine a study is there in which subject has to come every 15 days. But when at every 15 days subject has to undergo some test. Okay, so those kind of information will be there in the SSD. Okay, every 15 days, hemoglobin or ECG need to be done. Those kind of information we need to capture under study specific document. Okay. Now the step 4. Now we have identified the case report form. We have drafted the essential documents. Now that information we need to give to the programming team. Okay. The clinical data management department, CDM department, does not program. The CDM department will work in the active collaboration with the programming team. We will have the programming team in the CDM department. So what they will do, we will request the programming team to program the case report form in the EDC. As I given you one example of Facebook, that Facebook consider as a EDC, and the form that you fill to sign up is a case report form. So EDC is nothing but a system in which they will program this case report form. Okay. Once those case report forms are programmed, we will perform the testing. That testing is called user acceptance testing. Why it is done? It is done to ensure that programmer has programmed as per our request or not. That's it. Now, once this user acceptance testing is done, the first UAT testing is done. It's called UAT screen. Okay. Once it is completed, uh, we will have the online screening one. Okay. Online screening one means we will have different stakeholders, right? Biostatistics team will be there, clinical team will be there, medical team will be there. They all sit and will see whether the EDC has been designed as per our requirement or not. That is called online screening one. After online screening one, whatever issue is identified in the online screening, again we will reach out to programmer, and again programmer will rectify those error or issues and will reprogram it. Okay. Again, we will inform the team that all the findings has been resolved. Once it is done, we are in the seventh step of the database design or EDC design. Okay. Now, in this step, edit specification document is drafted. Now, again, you will have a doubt, what is edit check specification document? So, I'll give you one example. You see, this is the case, this is another example of case report form. Okay. Date of birth is there, we are collecting, gender we are collecting, ethnicity we are collecting. Suppose, imagine a study where we are recruiting only adult population, means subject A should be more than 18 years old. Okay. And the hospital people has entered the date of birth of the patient as 13th August 2020. It's wrong, right? With this date, subject is around 2. So, to identify this type of error in the ADC, we program edit check. Edit checks are nothing but a program that are written to identify the discrepancy in the entered data. Okay. So once that edit check is programmed, it will fire this kind of report. Please check the discrepancy in the reported date of birth. Okay, so this is called edit check. In the document in which we write this kind of logic, we need to write all the logics and all. That document is called edit check specification document. Okay. Um, Now, once edit checks are programmed, second UAT, user acceptance testing, second testing is performed. That is called UAT edit check or UAT2. Okay, and this is the second UAT in the setup phase. We will perform the, actually generally in the practical setting, we perform the UAT number of times. Because sometimes we are not able to identify the error in between the process, and we identify the error, then we reach out to the programmer, and programmer will resolve those issues, and again we will perform the UAT and we will check whether those issues has been corrected or not as per our requirement. Okay, so in the step 8 we draft the edit check document and UAT is performed, and once all the error which we identify in the second UAT are resolved by the programmer, we will move to the step 9. Okay, so now all the errors which we have identified in the previous step are resolved. Now database is ready for screening 2. Okay, now the clinical data manager will organize a meeting where biostatistics people, the clinical team, medical team will sit together, and again we will review the EDC. Okay, whether all the case report form are drafted perfectly or not, are they meeting our requirement or not, and again they can suggest some modification. As per their suggestion, again we will reach out to the programmer, and then again programmer will program according to our requirement, and once they will release for testing, we will perform retesting, and again we will inform the clinical team and other stakeholder that everything as suggested is programmed now. Now we are moving to the step 10. See, the setup phase is very complicated phase of a clinical data management. So I have given you an illustration where I have covered the bold steps, like the major step that we do in the setup phase. There are many things which we need to take care in the setup, like third-party data setup. What is third party? See, everything we do not capture in the EDC, electronic data capture in the system. There are many things, for example, X-ray, ECG, MRI, all these things we do not capture, because EDC itself is having certain limitations. We cannot capture everything. So what we do, for example, biomarker testing. If you will see one report of biomarkers, for example, there is a cancer patient. If you will see one biomarker report, then there will be 200 tests are done for a day, and again for the next after 1 week or 2 week, again those 200 tests need to be reperformed. That much data we cannot capture in the EDC. Okay, so what we do, in every organization there will be a separate system to capture those kind of third party data. Okay, so that setup also need to be done in the setup stage of development in CDM. So generally it is done at later part of the setup phase. That's why I added here in the step 10. Okay, now step 11, everything is done. You have documented everything. Now the clinical database, electronic data capture or EDC is live. Live means now the actual data can be entered. We have built the database. Now actual data can be entered. Okay, so this is called database go live activity. Okay. Now I'll just summarize whatever I said to you now about the setup. Okay. Don't get panic because it's a too huge process, and I just try to summarize in 30-minute presentation. We need to discuss every step in details. Okay, so I'll just summarize here just what I said to you. In the step 1, the clinical data management people will review the protocol and try to identify the information which are needed to capture in the case report form. And in step 2, we will search in the standard library to identify the desired case report form. And in step 3, we will create one critical document that is called SSD. And in step 4, we will request the programming team to program the case report form in the EDC. In the 5th step, we will perform the UAT testing. We will perform. In the step 6, we will do the screen 1. In step 7, we will draft edit check specific document to identify the discrepancy. In step 8, again we will do the UAT. UAT means user acceptance testing or UAT 2. Second UAT is done in this step 8 for the edit checks. In step 9, all the issues which are identified in UAT 2, we ensure that all are resolved and database is ready for the screening too. Again, all team will sit and will see the database. And step 10, there are other things which need to be taken care, like third party data, as I explained you, like there will be biomarker data, MRI, X-ray. All these things comes under step 10, and we need to draft certain documents, we need to set up certain systems, and all these things will come under step 10. Now step 11 is when the data everything is done. Now database is live, means now the site, the hospital people can enter the live data. This all 11 steps comes under setup. Okay, now we are moving to the conduct phase. This is the second phase of the clinical data management. Do I have time, or I'll just take 3-4 minutes? Okay. So before we move to the conduct phase, I'll quickly show you how EDC looks. Okay, so this is the screenshot of our RAVE metadata. You need to enter your username and password. So you can see these are the folder, these are the widgets, means at screening, after 1 month, after 2 months, subject will come to the hospital and all. Now you can see this is an example of case report form. Okay, and this is a screenshot of our EDC, electronic data capture. It will have this case report form, vital sign, what is the subject weight, temperature, systolic BP, diastolic BP, pulse. All these things are mentioned here as per the protocol. And this is the one example of vital sign. And this is the screenshot of our EDC. Now you understand, right? Like in the EDC, this case report form are designed in this way. Now moving to the conduct phase. As I said, once the database is released into the production, the conduct phase of the CDM starts. In this phase, site enters the data and CDM has to review it. Okay. So what site or hospital will do, they will enter the subject weight, patient weight, body temperature, systolic BP. So we need to review this data in the conduct phase, whether the entered data is correct or not. For example, weight. Sometimes site will enter like subject weight is 1000 kilogram. We know that it's not reasonable. Okay, it's not correct. So we will raise one query or question like kindly check the data again. Subject can enter body temperature like 100 degrees Celsius or 200 degrees Celsius. Those kind of error we need to identify. Okay, so there are separate document to identify the error. So those kind of things also we can discuss when I'll give you the detailed session about it. But as for today, just understand that in the conduct phase, we try to clean the data as much as we can. Okay. Now the closeout. This is the third part of the clinical data management process. So once data is cleaned, all the validation check is done. We have not identified any discrepancy. If we have identified the discrepancy, we have agreement within the team that okay, we can go ahead with this discrepancy. Pre-log checklist means there will be a checklist whether you have performed Allah check or not. Uh, the status of other associated system. All these things will be there in that checklist. Permission, it will also ensure that we have all the permission from all the relevant stakeholder. Once it is done, we will log the data. We will log the data means in the CRF, you will see in the CRF, this side we will have one provision to lock. Once we lock it, site or hospital people will not be able to enter any data. That is called lock. And we also not able to modify anything. We will not be able to raise any query. Nobody can do anything. Okay. So sorry. Again, there are different kind of lock. Soft lock is there, hard lock is there. All these things we will discuss in detail in our routine session. So for as of now, just understand there are three. Just I am telling you the summary. There are three phases: setup, conduct, and closeout. In setup, we design the EDC as per the protocol. In conduct, we try to clean the data. In closeout, once data is cleaned, we log the forms, we log the EDC so that nobody can modify anything. Then this data will go to the statistical team. Then the statistical team will perform the analysis. And once analysis is performed, the organization will submit that data to the regulatory authority. Okay. That's all from my side. If you have any doubt, please go ahead. Anybody is having any doubt? Am I audible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody is having any doubt?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rajesh sir.
Yeah.
Just see in the chat box. Someone has a question.
I cannot see it.
Okay, I will read. Like Sayed Yasmin has a question. A case report, is that medical history report?
See, medical history is one kind of case report form. Okay. So there will be one medical history case report form where we capture the history of the medical history of the subject. For example, like in past, he had any stroke or he is suffering from anemia. Those kind of information we will capture in a form. That is called medical history case report form. Any other question?
Yes, sir. So, someone is typing. Just wait. If someone have a question, you can unmute yourself and you can ask directly, no issue. Okay. If nobody has a question, so we can close the call for today's.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Rajiv sir. Thank you, Dheeraj sir. Thank
Thank
you
you,
all of
ma'am.
you. Okay,
Thank you
thank you.
all. Bye bye. Good night. Take care.
Bye bye. Okay, thank you.